Now.
The hearings to confirm President Donald Trump's Supreme Court nominee are underway. Good evening. I'm Kristen Goodwillie.
And I'm David Walker. Thank you for joining us. Brett Kavanaugh appeared before the Senate Judiciary Committee for the first time today, and lawmakers on both sides squared off. Mola Lenghi reports from Capitol Hill.
Brett Kavanaugh delivered his opening statement hours after his nomination hearing for the Supreme Court began.
My judicial philosophy is straightforward. A judge must be independent and must interpret the law, not make the law.
Democrats demanded a delay in the hearing over the White House's refusal to release all documents from Kavanaugh's time during the Bush administration.
Just common sense says we should have access to thoroughly evaluate this person.
Late Monday, the Senate Judiciary Committee received about 42,000 documents, leaving them little time to review them.
It's hard to take seriously their claim that somehow they can't do their job when they've already made up their mind before the hearing. There's nothing fair about that.
Inside the chamber, Senate lawmakers also dealt with angry protesters who repeatedly tried to interrupt the day's events.
Judge Kavanaugh is one of the most distinguished judges. Mr. Chairman, I think we ought to have this loudmouth removed.
Democratic Senator Dianne Feinstein used her opening remarks to argue the future of abortion rights is at stake.
The president that nominated you has said, I will nominate someone who is anti-choice and pro-gun. And we believe what he said.
But Republicans pushed back.
They don't have substantive points strong enough to derail this nomination.
Over the next few days, Kavanaugh is expected to face questions on a wide range of issues, including affirmative action and executive authority. Republicans would like to have Kavanaugh take the bench by the 1st of October. Mola Lenghi, CBS News, Capitol Hill.
If confirmed, Kavanaugh would replace retired Supreme Court Justice Anthony Kennedy. Well, let's take a look at our forecast as we go live outside. A look from our tower camera. Another day full of sunshine here in Western Oregon.
KVAL's Travis Knutson is in the Weather Center talking about a cool down and maybe some rain. Travis?
Well, that cool down and rain chances are still a couple days off, but I think by the end of the week things might look a little different than what they did today. But today certainly had a lot of sunshine, although a little windy out there, and as a result we do have a bit of a fire danger around the region. The Willamette Valley under pink currently is a red flag warning that is in effect not too much longer, about an hour or so, due to some low relative humidity and some high winds around the region, which could cause or allow any fires to start to spread pretty quickly. Highs across the state today, low 80s for many locations. Medford at 91, Ontario made it to 90. Our temperatures tonight will be around 50 degrees for most locations, and while tomorrow still looks pretty nice, that weekend is quite a bit different. I'll show you Saturday and Sunday coming up in just a few minutes.
Well, the Federal Emergency Management Agency announced today federal money will be used to help fight a wildfire north of Grants Pass in Hugo. FEMA says the fire could become a major disaster because of the threat it poses to homes. That fire's burned about 200 acres since it started Sunday. It's now 45% contained. FEMA money can be used for supplies, transportation costs, and setting up fire camps.
Helicopters are back in the air after being grounded this morning at the Terwilliger fire. They've been making flights since 1:30 despite smoke in the Cougar Reservoir area. Managers tell KVAL News it's still pretty hazy, but firefighters on the ground need the air support, so they're doing what they can. The fire is now more than 9,000 acres and 29% contained. Fire managers expect warm and dry weather through tomorrow night, and that will help the fire keep growing. Meanwhile, the Klondike fire burning west of Selma is getting close to 110,000 acres in size. The fire has been burning since July and was caused by a lightning strike. Managers expect the fire to keep growing because of dry and windy conditions over the next few days. Part of the fire is being contained, but burn scars from the 2002 Biscuit fire and the 2017 Chetco Bar fire. Residents can get more information about the fire at a community meeting tomorrow night at 5 o'clock at the Agnes Community Library.
And new at 6, police in Kaiser say they have made progress in a murder investigation today. So far, the only thing they'll say is they've located all of the involved individuals. They have not said whether any arrests have been made. The shooting happened around 1 in the morning In the north part of the town, police say they found a 27-year-old man shot to death. Two neighbors who live close by say they heard officers move in on a possible suspect.
What did you hear?
Something like loudspeakers. Suspect, surrounded, and heard some kind of shot.
It sounded like someone was yelling at somebody. I couldn't make the words out, but they were definite words. They were yelling something.
Officers have not said who was shot, nor have they described the circumstances leading up to the shooting. They do say they expect to release more information tomorrow.
Investigators have released new details in a police shooting in Clark County, Washington. Suspect Christopher Rowlands faces a long list of charges, including hit and run, theft, and attempting to elude an officer. Police say he hit several parked vehicles in the town of Hazeldale late Monday night. The sheriff's office says sometime during the arrest, a deputy fired his gun, but it's unclear if Rowlands was hit. Investigators say Rowlands was taken to the hospital for injuries related to the crash, along with a dog bite from a K-9 officer. New information on the ATI fire in Millersburg, just north of Albany, last Tuesday. A metals fire in the storage yard mixed with moisture from rain that night before created a large explosion inside ATI Specialty Alloys and Components. That's according to the preliminary reports by the Albany Fire Department. The explosion blasted hot materials nearly 250 feet away from the plant, starting a brush fire. The fire has since been contained and no injuries were reported by ATI. The fire is still under investigation.
Kids are using the internet now more than ever, and the experts say parents have to work harder to keep their kids safe.
Perry Eliadarani looked into the kinds of dangers that might be waiting for a child online.
The internet. For kids, it can be a place of learning with limitless information at their fingertips, but it can also be a cause for serious concern.
I don't think that as a culture, we're really quite ready for how to properly monitor and keep kids safe with all of the technology and internet issues that we have.
Issues like cyberbullying, social anxiety or depression from social media, and lack of sleep if the kid is using technology late at night, a threat, Taylor says, to developing mind.
And that really affects the brain in long-term ways and affects learning and affects mood. Unfortunately, parents just aren't aware of how these things are impacting their kids.
After all, the internet can be incredibly hard to monitor, with instant access to pornography and potential predators.
Anything can be exploited, and so what really always concerns me is just, as a parent, do I really know who my children are engaging with in conversations?
So what's a parent to do when rules can't be enforced or when technology isn't understood? Taylor says it starts with communication.
It's surprising how many kids I've got complaining that they can't get time with their parents because their parents are on their phones always rather than actually interacting with them.
Once dialogue is established, Taylor and McKee suggest creating limits on screen time, keeping devices away at bedtime, waiting until middle school before giving cell phone access, and monitoring what sites your child goes to. It's a generational challenge, but it's one that Taylor says parents can't refuse.
Parents need to really be reflecting on the choices they're making, and that if they decide to make no choice and take no action, that is itself a choice.
In Springfield, I'm Perry Eliadarani.
If you're looking for more information about how to keep your child safe online, be sure to visit the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children's website.
Well, concussions have been a big topic for professional football players, but teenagers and student athletes are being checked out more frequently for concussions or traumatic brain injuries. That's just one of the reasons the Centers for Disease Control has released guidelines for the first time ever for teens and concussions. Now, the goal in having these guidelines is so parents, coaches, and doctors can all be on the same page about what should be done if you suspect a child has a concussion. Adult guidelines have been in place for some time now, and these guidelines for kids don't differ too much, but compared to an adult, the stakes, the experts say, are higher.
Your brain actually doesn't really finish maturing, I guess, depending on who you believe and who you read, maybe until 25. So up until then, if you disrupt something when it's still forming, it makes sense that you'd be more vulnerable.
A part of those guidelines include concussion imaging. assessing brain function and how and when kids should go to a specialist. Concussions can be difficult to detect because it's not something that generally shows up on brain scans. Instead, doctors say it usually affects cognitive function. Some other symptoms include headache, sensitivity to light, and nausea.
A new report from the Oregonian shows high school football participation is dropping in Oregon, but it's still the #1 sport in the state. More than 12,000 student athletes played football in the 2017-2018 school year. That's down more than 1,000 from 2 years ago. The second most popular sport for high schoolers in Oregon is boys track and field. Boys basketball came in third.
Well, with Oregon graduation rates below the national average, Oregon's governor says some new classes are underway in hopes of boosting those numbers and forging new skills.
That's right. KVAL's Kelsey Christensen brings us into the classrooms on the governor's tour in Junction City.
We've got freshmen, we have sophomore, junior, seniors.
Governor Kate Brown is touring the new culinary arts classroom at Junction City High School.
Yeah, all this metal is brand new.
The classroom isn't only meant for cooking, it's also a career and technical education class, or CTE class, funded by the state.
We know that students that have access to career and technical education programs, their graduation rate improves to about 86%.
That's up from Oregon's current graduation rate of 77%. CTE classes are using hands-on learning to give students real-world skills and gain free college credit.
Seemed like a good idea. I'd save money in college because I'd have to take these classes anyway.
The school also added a woodworking CTE class.
You know, you can get a really good paying job in this industry.
And Governor Brown says she hopes the new classes are the first step in expanding CTE classes around the state.
Having access to hands-on learning, it's an eye-opener for students.
And the classes aren't only meant to improve graduation rates, but to give students skills for careers out of high school.
The biggest challenge facing these employers is that they need skilled and qualified workforce. And by providing comprehensive career and technical education in our high schools around the state, it will help us close that gap.
Students working towards a brighter future. Reporting in Junction City, I'm Kelsey Christensen.
Next on KVAL News, fallout over Nike using Colin Kaepernick in the company's latest campaign, reaction from consumers, and the NFL right after the break. Some people are reportedly burning their Nikes after the brand signed former quarterback Colin Kaepernick to a big endorsement deal.
Chris Martinez has the latest on the controversy and the support that's emerging for the company and Kaepernick.
Throwing this in the fire because of Colin Kaepernick is now the face of Nike.
Some lit their Nike shoes on fire, sharing the video on social media.
Sorry, Nike. I've been buying you for the past 20 plus years. Not anymore.
The hashtag boycott Nike trended on Twitter after former 49ers quarterback Colin Kaepernick shared this ad with the caption, "Believe in something, even if it means sacrificing everything." It's part of Nike's 30th anniversary of its Just Do It campaign, but it's not sitting well with some Nike fans. Susie Burkhart says you won't find her sporting the swoosh.
I thought about it this morning and last night when I was getting ready to decide what I was going to wear. I chose not to wear it. I'm not wearing any Nike.
Kaepernick became a divisive figure when he began kneeling during the national anthem in 2016, protesting police brutality and racial injustice. He's been unsigned since then and tangled in a lawsuit with the NFL, accusing the league of illegally shutting him out. Juan Ugarte is among fans backing Kaepernick.
I think it's part of the American experience to be able to speak your mind freely. I see it as a respectful way to say how you feel.
Stars including Serena Williams have also come out in support, tweeting, "Especially proud to be a part of the Nike family today." Shares of Nike dropped nearly 3% in trading. Chris Martinez, CBS News, Pasadena, California.
The NFL released a statement saying it believes in dialogue and unity. It also says it embraces promoting meaningful and positive change in communities. The league also said, quote, "The social justice issues that Colin and other professional athletes have raised deserve our attention and action."
A lot of sunshine around Western Oregon today, and that's not going to change at least in the short term, but same cannot be said for that long-term forecast. I'll show it to you next.